Hi, hello, and welcome to the CSCE 492 class for the spring 2022. So in this video, I just want to go over what you have to do this semester. So we're just going to go over all the milestones which are here. Hopefully you remember everything from this class is on this website, capstone.csc.sc.edu, which you're probably looking at right now. And our discussions, you can click through here, and that'll take you to our GitHub discussion. First thing is, if you are in 492 but you were not in 490 last semester, just make sure you email me your email or your GitHub username today. Just do it right now so I can assign you to a group. What I'm going to do is start to put the new people into any group that has lost people and just try to bring all the teams back up to at least 4 people per team. So hopefully the numbers work out. So just like last semester, read the syllabus, watch the video, and we have this deadlines page right here, which shows you the various deadlines for this semester. So what you did last semester is you build this proof of concept application, and the idea there was, to prove mostly to yourself that you can do this, that you can, read the whole documentation, learn about your framework, learn how to make a basic app, get your Git and GitHub together with your IDE, and then work together in a group to actually put all that together and build something that does something. Not much, but it's an app, right? So you prove that you can do this. You can build an app, put all these things together into something that works. This semester, we're going to take that something that works and turn it into a professional, fully featured, bug-free, and good-looking app, right? So basically something better than most of the stuff in the App Store, right? So basically, it's just going to be all programming all the time. So there's going to be a lot of programming. And you want to do is, slowly add new features and improve, monotonically, hopefully, the quality of your app. So add more and more stuff to it, make it better and better. What I highly recommend you do is set up a weekly or bi-weekly, deployment schedule. So every week or a couple of weeks, you release a new version of your app. It's just internal, maybe nobody sees it or whatever. But this is what most companies do. It's part of the continuous improvement idea. So you're continuously putting everything together and releasing it. The main advantages of this method is that first you have something to ship. At any one point you have something you can give your customers, and there it is. Also, it avoids surprises because you're constantly doing everything. There are no surprises when you do the whole thing again for real, right? And as at least for me, the first time I do something, it fails, right? So the first time I try to, publish a website, it failed. The first time I try to, compile that, it fails. And, I think that's true for most of us programmers. The first time always fails, and you just have to plan ahead for that. So the first time shouldn't be the real time. The time that counts should be, you should have done it like 20 times before. So I highly recommend you get on that continuous improvement release cycle. So, but we're only going to actually grade 3 releases this semester. So you're going to put together 3 releases. They are, I can show you here in the milestones. But the first one is going to be the beta release milestone right here. So you have the beta release, your RC1 or release candidate 1 release, and then at the end of the semester, your 1.0 release. So let me go over those quickly. So your beta should basically implement the core functionality of your app, right? So for example, if you're building an email app, it should send and receive email. That's the core functionality. So maybe it doesn't do, email attachments, maybe, threaded email view is not implemented. Some of the side features are not done yet, but the beta should have all the core functionality. Now, how do we figure out what that is? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to post an issue in your repo first week of classes. asking you to add all your beta issues. So this is the same thing we did for the proof of concept. So I post that issue, I ask you to add the issues. When you do, you close it. Then I look at them, and then maybe I ask you to add more or ask for some clarification. So basically, the idea is that we're all on the same page of which set of issues you're going to implement for your beta milestone. And then you go ahead and implement them. And then we're going to use those to grade it. So that's how the beta milestone is going to work, which is going to be very similar to then the RC1 milestone, which is the next one. So the release candidate 1 milestone this is a feature freeze release. So basically at this point you should be done, right? So this means that you are done adding features to your app, you believe, and you believe you're done. Now, of course, we're never done. There are always bugs, right? But that's the goal. The goal is to be done and not have any bugs. That has never happened, and that's fine. So what we're going to do with this release, again, we're going to grade it. It's just going to be just like the beta, the whole thing. We're going to grade it. We're going to add issues to it, any bugs we find, and then you fix those bugs for the next release. And same for the previous beta, right? We're going to add bug reports, and then you're going to fix all those for the release candidate 1. But we're going to do for this RC1 release, I'm actually going to give it to another team. So we have this quality assurance milestone. So for this milestone, you're going to get that other team's app and you're going to test it. So basically, you're going to be doing the same thing the TAs and I have been doing for your app for the very previous releases. Just run it, check for bugs, add those bugs to their repo, obviously, and that's it. So you just do some quality assurance. As you probably know, this is an actual job in companies, quality assurance or tester. And that's what you're going to be doing for their app. They do it for your, and they add those issues, and then you're going to decide, are those real bugs or not. If they are, you fix them for the 1.0 release. So that's the quality assurance milestone. Please do read these and do. There's some details about how you should label the issues, etc., that you get. So that's the quality assurance milestone. Also, during this time, this is towards the end of the semester, you have to set up a little website for your app. It's pretty straightforward. So just a little advertising website. There's some specific things that need to be in it. Please read that. And then also you have to make this the final demo video. So this is very similar to the one you did last semester. Just a little bit longer because hopefully your app now has a lot more features. So you need to demonstrate all the features, all the things that it does. And so it just might take a little bit longer. And do note, however, the one difference is that this one has a grading of individual. So that means that, I want everybody in your team to talk during the presentation. So generally, this just means, assigning each person a specific set of features to demo, right? So you demo this page, you demo that page, and then you put it all together. But however you want to do it. There's some more details here about what you should be doing for that demo. And then the last day of classes. Both of these are due the last day of classes, which is April 25th this year. The 1.0 milestone, and this is your final release, the one we're going to be grading. And at this point, you have fixed all the bug reports that the TAs and I made for the RC1, and also anything that the other team found. And hopefully, it's awesome, right? It's a professional, fully featured, high quality, good looking app. So those are most of the milestones. The one I did skip, which is actually the first one, is testing. So this is the testing milestone. For this milestone, you are going to write code to test your app, right? So this is something that most companies do nowadays. They have all these automated tests that they run. So the idea is that, once you have an app that people are using, right? Your company sells this app, people are using it, and then you go in and you implement a new feature for it, as you're always trying to improve or change or whatever. And so you implement it, you test your feature, of course, you write some tests for your feature. But you usually you assume that this is my feature, it works, and I didn't mess anything else, right? That's kind of hard to test, and most of the time you'll be like, obviously, I didn't mess anything else. I mean, my code has nothing to do with that code over there, which is correct most of the time, but sometimes it can be wrong. There's surprises. So what companies do is usually write all this automated tests, and these tests get run. So you do your changes, and then before your changes get merged into main, you run all these automated tests and make sure that you didn't break anything. And many times you want to do this by yourself, obviously, before you commit the code to make sure you didn't break anything. And that's it. So these automated tests are there to make sure that you don't break stuff that already works. As such, they're not going to be very useful in this class, right? So because your app still does very little, and it's only towards the end that it's just going to be full, and by then, you haven't written the test because you probably write a lot of the tests towards the end. So writing these tests are not going to catch any bugs for you this semester, probably. But nonetheless, it's required, and because companies do this, and the idea is that if there was a third semester, then these would be used for the developers there. I just want to explain another thing here. So we have it divides the test into two types of tests. I talk about unit tests and behavior tests. So unit tests, everybody agrees on what that means. That means when you write code, that your test code calls actual functions in your code. So that's pretty straightforward. You just call a method in your code. So you're just testing like little bits of functions that are complicated functions, string manipulation functions, sorting functions, logic functions, that kind of stuff that it's a little bit tricky to get right. You write all this unit test for it. Behavior testing is when you write code that tests your app. So you run your app as a whole, and then your code is like a user pressing buttons on your app. Now, to do that, you need, some framework support, right? Some way to write code that presses buttons. And, luckily, all the big frameworks, Android, iOS, they already have this for you there. You maybe didn't read this when you read the manual for Android or Django or whatever, but there'll be a whole chapter there on your frameworks manual on testing, which will cover how do you do what I'm calling behavior testing. Some times they call it, UI testing or framework testing. It goes by many names, but it's the same idea. It's the idea that you're writing code to test your whole app. Or sometimes it's not really the whole app, but it's something very, very close to the real app. So that's what we mean here. So because of that, there's a learning curve, right? You're going to have to go back to your framework and learn how to test it. And that is why we broke up this testing milestone into two due dates. So the first thing that's due here is for the first deadline. I just want you to go back and read about how your framework does testing and understand how that worked, and actually implement, at least one of each of these two, unit test and a behavioral test, and then update your README with instructions on how to run tests. So just to show that you know how to write tests and you can run them, and here's how you do it. So at that point, this is the first deadline by the end of January. You know how to write tests, and then the idea is that during the rest of the semester, now as you're writing your code, you're also writing tests for it. So you write a new feature and you write a little test for it. You write a new feature, you write a little test for it. So by the end of the semester, you should have a bunch of tests. And we're going to check that again. We're going to check for those tests at the end of the semester. So that's why we have the two due dates. First one, just one test, show that you can do it. And for the final one, we hope you have a bunch of tests. I'm definitely not looking for like complete coverage as like a real app would have a lot of tests, maybe. Some of them do. But I'm still looking for, reasonable coverage. So that's all I wanted to cover. Thank you.